Once again, another example of how the manga and anime are different, and at the same time, they're so intertwined with the plot that it's crazy. So let's talk about it. This fourth chapter of Tokyo Ghoul, once again, it rearranges events from the first two episodes. It has events from the first episode and the second episode in the fourth chapter, and it's mixed up between. Mainly the second episode is in the fourth chapter, though. But let's get on to the first one, okay? Right at the end of the fourth chapter, we get to see that blonde-haired, orange-haired guy at the end of the first episode that killed that one ghoul, knocked his head off, and was like, oh, you're in my territory, I'm going to kill you. And then remember, Toka saved the day and save Kaneki. Well, in the end of chapter 4, we get to see him at the end of it, and pretty much the events of it pretty much seem the same. But there was a couple of subtle differences with that chapter. So you remember when Kaneki was smelling some food and all, he's like, oh my god, it smells delicious. It smells really good. In his mind, he was saying, oh my god, hopefully it's monkey, hopefully it's deer or something. And he was saying that, but that's really not important, so they could cut that out. But as he's running, he gets to see the body and the corpse on the ground. Of course, it's not censored, so that's one good thing. It wasn't censored, but we're not really looking at a comparison of the censors or not between the anime and manga. I'm mainly looking at the differences in terms of story. So anyways, the difference here is that dude in the anime, as we saw him in the anime, he was very kind. He's like, oh, here, I haven't eaten in a while. Here, I can't offer much. And he hands Kaneki an arm. You remember that? Well, in the manga, you see this dude that's eating the body. He's like, you better get away or I'm going to kill you. Like, his personality is completely different. That one dude's personality is straight out different from the anime and manga. But I can understand why. With the way they've changed events, like I've said in my last, manga comparison review, pretty much I'm saying they changed the events to make this dude the main key contender to show Kaneki he needs to eat food and introduce the concept you need to have something to eat. It was like to add in that scene from chapter 2. For instance, that one scene where Toka was offering Kaneki an arm, well, it did happen with Toka too in the first episode, but the main thing I'm guessing they tried to fix was with that guy when he handed, Kaneki that arm in the anime episode. So they were just changing the different events of who really first offered Kaneki something to eat. So I am fine with that. I really am. I like how they handled that entire aspect, and that entire little change with that one fodder dude that got his head fucking ripped off is not a big issue. It's not a big issue at all. So I'm fine with that. The personality is fine. Now, there's one thing, though, in this chapter that was very different, but once again, another prime example of how they're handling the different changes of events they're doing in this anime. Like, okay, so in chapter 4, we see the events unfold quite differently from episode 2. Now, in episode 2, we find out that coffee is the key savior to ghouls. They can only drink coffee. For instance, that's the only normal human food they can have that tastes natural to them. Well, in chapter 4, Kaneki, in that entire spurt where we see in the first episode, where he's eating food and he's vomiting up a burger, remember all that stuff when he was trying to eat burger? That scene when he was going around trying to get food in his house, that's the time he discovered coffee. And as he tried to have some coffee, he realized it tastes delicious, and then so he started trying the beans, like, ew, the beans don't really taste that good. And then he tried to put it on bread to try to make it, taste better, and the bread still tasted like solidified vomit, as he said in the manga chapter. And so, Kaneki found the coffee, like how to drink coffee, and coffee's good for ghouls, before he was ever told. For instance, they changed the events of, for instance, the cafe, that bartender in the second episode telling Kaneki to drink coffee. They changed that event, and it pretty much, it's okay what they did, but the main events, how it really was in the manga, is Kaneki discovered coffee on his own. But in the anime episode 2, Kaneki needed help to find it. And so, I think the main focus, what they're trying to do with the anime, is the psychological elements. As I've already covered a lot, they're mainly trying to make it where Kaneki's going under this immense pressure of hunger, depression, shyness, he is by himself. That's what they're really trying to make the main focus of the anime, which is fine. It really is. The way they're handling it, I still have no complaints. This is chapter 4, and I have no complaints with the way they're changing up the events. The main point is still getting across. It really is. The entire point of the plot and the events that are going on with these ghouls and Kaneki and all that are still getting across, so we're really not missing nothing if you're an anime-only watcher, which is good. That's very good. That's very, very good. But here's the thing, okay? The way it's doing it, though, okay? The way they handled this chapter was really interesting. For one thing, we get to see a scene with that, I wish I could remember his fucking name, but that blonde-haired dude that was all about his territory, and he was about to, kill Kaneki in the end of episode 1, and he also was attacking Kaneki and his friend Hide in episode 2. Well, Kaneki meets him for the first time in the grocery store picking up coffee. Yeah, the events right there is very changed. And as Kaneki's, having coffee, he's walking home with it, he smells the smell, and then in turn leads him into that alleyway where he saw that dead corpse. And then, yeah, I already covered that at the beginning part of this comparison review. So yeah, that's exactly how the events unfolded in Chapter 4, which is very different from overall, from all the different chapters I have seen thus far from the 4 chapters I've read. Chapter 4 is definitely the most different out of all of them. It definitely is, but the events are still there. All the events that were in Chapter 4 are still there, but it's very different the way they unfolded in the anime. And I have no complaints. I know. I like how they're doing it. I really do. It's really cool how I could still say Tokyo Ghoul's anime is a lot different from the manga, but at the same time, they're still keeping that plot and character development and everything intact, which is good. That is really good. It's rare to see that. It's rare to see how an anime can, I guess, diverge from the original source, but at the same time, still keep that original source's plot and still retain all the elements from it. It's really unique, it really is, it's definitely interesting, and I wonder how manga fans really feel about this. I mean, I know a lot of fans are saying they're not really changing much, and at the same time there's a lot of filler, but this filler that they're adding technically is events that happen in chapters they skipped, so yeah. Anyways, tell me your thoughts on Chapter 4 and Episode 1. What do you feel about this comparison review? And what do you feel about, how they're rearranging these events and changing things up? And how do you feel about Kaneki finding out about the coffee on his own instead of, having someone help him to find out about coffee? Let me know your thoughts on that in the comments below. I love all of you so much. You have a wonderful day or night wherever you live. Please be safe. Chibi out.